Welcome back to the channel, employees. I did a community post asking you guys what you would like to see before the Yakuza Kiwami 2 All Achievements video, and by popular demand, I'm looking back at my Infinite Wealth wishlist video I posted 10 days before Infinite Wealth's release, seeing if my prayers were answered or I was sorely disappointed. I'll be going through each section of the video. As you might expect, there will be spoilers for Infinite Wealth, but I will make sure to let you know when spoilers appear. With all that out of the way, let's start building shit. Alright, let's start talking about gameplay. My first point was that the skill inheritance slots were not locked to one job, as in you couldn't take skills from multiple jobs, which isn't true. All jobs have every inheritance slot depending on the bond level of the character, so any job can have 5 skills from any other job plus an essence move. My second point was that I wanted perks for each job. Small percentage based perks like increasing evasion chance or increasing damage with a specific type, which sadly weren't added, but I think the fact that some jobs are resistant to specific damage types without any equipment, for example Samurai has a base 30% blade resistance, sorta makes up for it. The next point was that we needed more QTEs during boss fights, which pretty much every boss has one. With that, I also said that I wanted the party members to be more involved in dynamic intros and QTEs. Sadly, there were only 4 intros with other characters. Spoilers here, skip to here if you want to avoid spoilers. Being the first fight with Dwight with Chitose, Long Toe with Kiryu, the 3-Jima fight, and the last one being the final boss on Kiryu's end with EMIR. On the QTE side, I guess the only one to have all the party members is also in the 3-Jima fight. It's at least a step up from 7, but could definitely be worked on. Then I went on to discuss how I wanted Kiryu to work, mainly through him meeting up with everyone who helped him in his life while also upgrading his styles. I was sorta right, sorta wrong. You play as Kiryu when he goes back to Japan because his condition starts getting worse. He has a bucket list which allows him to reminisce about the old days. Every time he does, one of his styles gets some XP similar to how Ichiban's personalities work. Most of the level ups increase resistances to status ailments, but when you reach specific levels, Kiryu's styles will gain unique abilities. Every style gained an enhanced basic attack, but Brawler gains a perfect guard counter attack, which is essentially Komaki knockback. I do wish the other 2 Komaki moves could have been included in Kiryu's awakening somehow. Maybe they could have moved Komaki knockback to a Beast awakening because Beast is mainly a defensive style, and give the Tiger drop to the Brawler style, and when in Dragon Resurgence it actually reverts to the Brawler type gameplay where the enemies attack you as well, giving you a reason to use the Tiger drop and giving a use to dodging. Dodging is only really used to close the gap when you punch an enemy away from you. And give Komaki parry to the Rush style. If Kiryu dodges in Rush style, he'll perform the Komaki parry and stun the enemy, allowing for more opportunities to use heat actions. In Brawler style, he gains the ability to do heat actions when standing next to weapons like boxes, bikes, traffic cones, etc. Rush gains increased evasion and critical hit rate, and Beast gains increased damage with weapon attacks, and while guarding, if Kiryu gets hit, he gains increased physical damage for 1 turn. The last point I mentioned was that I hoped for different weather besides rain, and weather having an impact on fights. None of that happened sadly. Would have been nice for weather to not just be an aesthetic thing, but something that affects random encounters, or maybe only specific Sujimon spawn when it rains. That's about it for gameplay, on to the story. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, I am literally about to talk about the story of Infinite Wealth. If you have not played the game, first of all, why haven't you? And second of all, skip to this timestamp if you do not want to be spoiled. I briefly talked about what I wanted for the story. The only thing I really talked about was that Kiryu gets a happy ending, which he does. He gets to see Haruka and finally realizes that he means so much to other people, and finally decides to get treatment for his cancer. Kiryu Kazumada. In my honest opinion, the story of Infinite Wealth was alright. Some parts needed more fleshing out, like AG going from this twist villain to just some guy who gets beaten up and taken to the police station by Ichiban in the end. EMIR, in my opinion, needed more screen time. We barely see him after going to Hawaii, and even after we go back to Japan with Kiryu, we don't see much of him. We see more of Palikana and Bryce, more than EMIR when he was the first major character to be introduced at the beginning of the game. Overall, the story was alright. Needed maybe an extra Ichiban chapter or 2. I will say this though, Kiryu's finale section, peak fiction.
Goat! Raw! Fire!
Absolute perfection. The run through Millennium Tower, the Receive You and Believe You song playing in the background, the best Receive You song since 7's Majima and Saijin's fight, fighting alongside the boys with the 4 playing in the background with that sick ass cutscene after defeating all the enemies. My absolute favourite part of the game, and the End of Denial being in my top 3 favourite final boss themes.
If you want to die. Step up!
There's a lot more I could say, but I'll hold off. So the story definitely has its strengths and weaknesses, not the worst story in the series, not the best, but still an alright story. Alright, on to side activities.
Just Dondoko! The ultimate getaway! Dondoko Island!
As with the story, I didn't really go into detail about what I wanted to see in regards to side activities. I said I wanted something similar to the business minigame in 7. Dondoko Island could be the equivalent to that, but a lot more thought out. Running your own resort and repairing the island as you defend it from the swashbucklers was definitely a fun time.
Go!
And sadly, Eri has nothing to do with it. I also said that I wanted Kiryu to be able to do some of the side activities from his past games, like going back to his real estate roots and maybe run it for a sub-story. We did get a bucket list memory for Forshine, which is a plus. Unfortunately, you don't actually run the cabaret club, but it was nice to see the girls again with Psycho and that classic Forshine jester.
1, 2, 3, 4 time!
And lastly, I said I wanted the disco mini beam back, but just so Kiryu could do something to distract his mind from what's happened over the past decade or so. Sadly, I don't think we'll ever see that minigame ever again. There was some other stuff that I wanted to see in the final game. I talked about the Segway getting upgraded, which is half true. You could buy battery packs from the pawn shops in Hawaii, but sadly there are no speed upgrades, so definitely better than walking still. Then I hoped getting all the achievements wasn't going to be hard, and as I have looked at the achievement list, it looks pretty easy. On to my final thoughts. So, after all that, here are my final thoughts about Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. The game is incredible. RGG's ability to build on what they did in 7 and improve the turn-based combat is out of this park. Being able to move during combat, not having a shopping list worth of useless moves to use, every move is at least semi-usable, even though Zhao still sucks. Please RGG, buff my boy. Every party member being able to pick up and use weapons, Kiryu's whole shtick. The story could have been worked on a little bit more. I still think Ichiban needed an extra chapter just to explain what happened to Eiji, and the ending was alright, though Kiryu's finale was absolute peak. So yeah, Infinite Wealth was a blast to play through, and I cannot wait to see what RGG has in store next. But please RGG, I saw your post on Twitter needing real life models for hostesses. If you're going to do live action hostesses, please make it optional or make the file size smaller. The hostesses and guide are like half its file size. Besides that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe and all that jazz. And I will see you in the next one, which will hopefully be the Kiwami 2 All Achievements video or a video in between. Till next time, employees, have a great day, and I will see you soon. Now, back to work.